If anyone had told 8-year-old Seo Narin that her stern billionaire father had once been a hopeless college boy who borrowed a Nigerian woman's economics notes and conveniently forgot to return them, she would have reported the rumor to corporate security herself. Chairman Seo Hae-jin didn't smile in public. He never stumbled over his words, and blushing was something other people did. But the day Narin visited her best friend Tabena's apartment and found their housekeeper Zuri standing in the kitchen making jollof rice, her world tilted off its axis. Then Tabena pointed to an old photograph hanging beside his desk, a photograph of a much younger Zuri, with her arm linked through the arm of a grinning, carefree young man who looked nothing like the intimidating chairman she knew. The smiling man in the picture was her father. Within seconds, the two children reached the same conclusion. The adults were hiding something, and Operation Secret Parents officially began. Welcome to Afrock Dynasty Studios, where African hearts and Korean souls come together through unforgettable stories. Sit back, relax, and enjoy another emotional journey filled with love, family, and unexpected twists. Don't forget to subscribe and become part of our growing family. 5 years after losing his beloved wife, Seo Hae-jin had closed the door on love. As chairman of one of Seoul's most prestigious luxury hotel empires, he devoted himself entirely to work and to the one person who mattered most, his 8-year-old daughter, Seo Narin. To help raise her, he hired Zuri Afolayan, a kind Nigerian woman whose gentle presence slowly brought warmth back into the quiet penthouse. What Narin never knew was that Zuri was also a single mother. Her son, Tobena, lived with his grandmother while Zuri worked long hours in the city. Over the years, Narin grew inseparable from her housekeeper. She loved the soft songs Zuri hummed while folding laundry, the pepper soup carefully prepared with less spice just for her, and the way Zuri somehow made every difficult day feel lighter. Sometimes, before falling asleep, Narin secretly wished Zuri would stay forever. That summer, Narin attended a children's leadership and creativity camp. There she met Tobena Afolayan. The two became friends almost instantly. They bonded over forbidden candy hidden inside their backpacks and their shared inability to survive long speeches without fidgeting. Neither of them realized they were already connected by the same woman who packed their lunches every day. Several weeks later, after endless pleading, Narin finally convinced her father to allow her first visit to Tabena's home. Their driver dropped her off at a cozy apartment complex on the outskirts of Seoul. The moment she stepped inside and slipped off her sneakers, she froze. The smell hit her immediately. Fried plantains, jollof rice, home. Standing in the kitchen, wearing a bright yellow apron over an Ankara print skirt, was Zuri. Before Narin could process what she was seeing, Tobena ran past her. "Mom, Narin is here." Narin blinked. "Auntie Zuri?" Zuri nearly dropped the spoon in her hand. "Narin?" Her eyes widened in horror. "What are you doing here?" "Wait." Tobena looked between them. "You two know each other?" Zuri pressed a hand against her forehead. "She's my employer's daughter, Toby." "What?" Tobena stared at Narin. "Seriously?" Narin stared right back. "You never told me your mom was Auntie Zuri." Before either adult or child could fully process the revelation, Tobena shrugged. "Okay, that's weird. Come see my Lego spaceship." Completely unfazed, he grabbed her hand and dragged her toward his room. Narin barely noticed the giant spaceship built across his desk. Her eyes had already landed somewhere else. A framed photograph hung beside the bookshelf. Inside the picture, a much younger Zuri was laughing with her arm linked through a smiling Korean man in a university sweatshirt. He looked relaxed, happy, boyish, and completely unlike the intimidating chairman who lived in her house. Narin slowly pointed toward the picture. "Why is my dad in your mom's photo?" Tobena squinted. "That's your dad?" He stepped closer. "I always thought he was some goofy actor Mom went to university with in England." The room fell quiet. Neither child had an explanation. Then both pairs of eyes slowly met. Mischief, curiosity, Dangerous levels of imagination. Naren lowered her voice dramatically. We need to investigate. Tabena nodded with equal seriousness. Operation Secret Parents is officially active. The following afternoon, Seo Hotel's headquarters was operating with its usual atmosphere of expensive silence and controlled panic. Chairman Seo Haijin sat behind his desk reviewing financial reports while massaging his temples. To the outside world, he looked exactly like the cold, untouchable tycoon newspapers loved to write about. Then the office doors burst open. Naren marched in, wearing oversized sunglasses. Behind her came Tabena, who had crossed his arms and adopted what he believed was the expression of a professional bodyguard. Haejin looked up. Naren? His expression softened instantly. What are you doing here? And who is your friend? This is Tobena, Naren announced. He's my associate. Tobena gave a serious nod. We have questions. Before Haejin could respond, Tobena dropped his backpack onto the sofa, removed a colored photocopy of the photograph, and placed it directly over the chairman's quarterly report. Haejin looked down. The color drained from his face. He nearly inhaled his espresso. Where did you get this? Tobena pointed triumphantly. Guilty reaction. Then he added proudly, Mom said you borrowed her economics notes and never returned them. Haejin blinked. Your mother? For the first time, he truly looked at the boy standing in front of him. Something about the eyes felt familiar. You are Zuri's son? Yes. Tobena nodded. And why are you smiling like that in this picture? You look suspiciously happy. Naren leaned over the desk. You never smile like that for the news. Haejin cleared his throat and suddenly became fascinated with the ceiling. It was a long time ago. We studied together in London. After graduation, I returned to Korea, married your mother, and took over the company. Naren narrowed her eyes. And then, Auntie Zuri came to work for us? Haejin sighed. I didn't know at first. We only discovered each other recently. She wanted to keep things professional. Professional boundaries are cancelled, Naren declared immediately. Haejin blinked. What? Toby and I have decided we want to be siblings. Therefore, you need to date Auntie Zuri. Haejin almost tipped backward in his chair. Naren. That's not how adulthood works. Tobena pulled out a small notebook. My mother makes excellent jollof rice. He raised one finger. Your father owns hotels. Second finger. He has an elevator. Third finger. Economically speaking, this is a strong partnership. And he still owes Mom her notes. Before Haejin could defend himself against two miniature marriage counselors, his phone rang. The caller ID read, Zuri. He answered immediately. Hello? Sir, I am so sorry. Zuri sounded breathless. Tobena took a copy of that old photograph and disappeared with Naren. Please tell me they're with you. Haejin glanced at the children. They are currently holding my financial reports hostage. To his own surprise, he laughed. A real laugh. The kind he hadn't heard from himself in years. Naren leaned toward the speaker. Auntie Zuri, Dad misses your economics notes. We are organizing a mandatory business dinner tonight. Haejin sighed. Naren, stop creating policies. But when he looked at his daughter, something inside him softened. She hadn't looked this happy in years. He glanced down at the photograph one more time. Then he took a quiet breath. Actually, Zuri. He paused. It has been a long time. I'd like to catch up properly. Not as employer and employee. As old friends. And please bring your mother too. Silence filled the line. Then came Zuri's soft laugh. All right, Haejin. But if Tobena tries to negotiate an allowance increase based on your hotel profits, you have my permission to send him to his room. Haejin smiled. Deal. Behind his back, Naren and Tobena exchanged a victorious high five. Phase 1 of Operation Secret Parents had succeeded. Neither of them realized they had only just opened the door to a story that had started long before either of them was born. The mandatory business dinner at the SEO household turned out to be an unexpected success. Between Tobena's non-stop commentary, Narin's constant teasing, and Zuri's perfectly seasoned jollof rice, the once silent penthouse felt strangely alive again. Even Chairman Seo Haijin found himself laughing more than he had in years, and that frightened him, because laughter had become unfamiliar. After dinner, while everyone else cleared the table, Haejin stood alone beside the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. He watched Zuri from a distance. She was helping Madame Seo pack leftovers, while Tobena dramatically explained why he deserved extra dessert for excellent social contributions. For a moment, Haejin forgot to breathe. Then guilt returned, as always. He quietly turned away and returned to his office. Unfortunately for him, 2 junior detectives noticed everything. "He likes her," Narin whispered. Tobena nodded confidently. "My mother likes him too." "How do you know?" She smiles with her eyes. Narin blinked. "People can do that?" "My grandmother says love always reaches the eyes first." Operation Secret Parents officially entered Phase 2. The following Saturday, while Haijin locked himself inside his office for an international conference call and Zuri prepared lunch downstairs, the children resumed their investigation. "He was definitely hiding something," Tobena declared. "Adults always hide things." "My mom hides vegetables inside soup." Narin nodded. "And Dad hides vitamins inside juice." Together, they searched the library. Eventually, Narin climbed onto a small stool and reached the highest shelf. Hidden behind old books sat an ornate wooden box. The moment she recognized it, her expression changed. "My mom's memory box." Neither child spoke. Slowly, they opened it. Lavender drifted into the air. Inside were journals, photographs, and 2 identical silver necklaces shaped like sunbursts. Tobena froze. "My mom has one." Narin stared at him. "What?" "She cleans it every Sunday." Before either child could understand why, they noticed a sealed envelope. Elegant handwriting covered the front. "To Haijin, Zuri, and my precious Narin." Narin's fingers trembled. Just as she began opening the letter, footsteps approached. The children jumped. Madame Seo entered the library. Her eyes widened when she saw the memory box. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Madame Seo slowly sat down. Instead of scolding them, she smiled sadly. "I suppose secrets never stay hidden forever." The children immediately bombarded her with questions. "Why does Auntie Zuri have the same necklace? Why is Dad in her picture? Why did everyone lie?" Madame Seo looked toward the envelope, her eyes filled with emotion. "Some answers belong to the right time." She gently took the letter from Narin's hands. "Not yet." Neither child liked that answer, but they respected their grandmother enough to remain quiet. Before leaving, Madame Seo touched Narin's cheek. "Your mother loved both you and your father very much." Then she walked away with the letter, which only made Operation Secret Parents even more determined. Several days later, Narin returned home from school earlier than expected. As she walked toward the kitchen, she stopped. Zuri was on the phone. Her voice sounded different, sadder. "Yes, Mama." "I know. I think it is time. Seoul has been kind to us, but perhaps Tobena and I should finally come home." Narin froze. Her school bag slipped from her shoulder. "Home? Come home?" Zuri continued quietly. "Tobena deserves stability. And I don't want people misunderstanding my place in Chairman Seo's family." There was a pause. Then Zuri whispered something that shattered Narin's heart. "I think staying any longer would only make leaving harder." Narin quietly backed away before Zuri noticed her. For several seconds she couldn't move. Then panic exploded inside her. 5 years ago, she had lost her mother. Now she was about to lose Zuri too. That night, Narin sat silently at dinner. Even Haijin noticed. "Are you feeling sick?" "No." "Did something happen at school?" "No." But she barely touched her food. Across town, Tobena faced his own surprise. His grandmother had already started sorting old family photographs into boxes. "Grandma." She smiled warmly. "We may be returning to Nigeria soon." Tobena laughed. Then he realized she was serious. His smile disappeared. "But what about school? What about Naren? What about Mom's job?" His grandmother sighed. Sometimes adults must make difficult decisions. For the first time in years, Tobena went to bed without making a joke. And for the first time since becoming friends, neither child called the other that night, because both of them were afraid, and neither knew how to say goodbye. Naren barely slept that night. She kept replaying Zuri's words in her head. "Come home. Leaving. Harder." Each sentence felt like a countdown. The next morning, she ran straight to Tobena. They sat beneath a tree in the school courtyard while the other children played nearby. "We have a problem," Naren whispered. Tobena immediately straightened. "Level 3 emergency? Worse. Level 4? Naren nodded. "Auntie Zuri is taking you back to Nigeria." For once, Tobena didn't joke. He simply stared at her. Then he laughed nervously. "That's impossible. My mom would tell me." But deep down, he already knew. Because recently, his grandmother had started packing boxes. Because recently, his mother had been unusually quiet. Because recently, she smiled less. That evening, Tobena finally asked, "Mom?" Zuri looked up from folding laundry. "Yes? Are we leaving?" Her hands froze. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she sat beside him. "Your grandmother and I have been discussing it." Tobena swallowed. "So it's true." Zuri gently stroked his hair. "Seoul was never supposed to be permanent. But this is home. You are home." Tears gathered in his eyes. "What about Naren?" The question nearly broke her. "What about Chairman Seo?" Zuri lowered her gaze. "We have our place, Toby. And sometimes loving people means knowing when to leave. But I don't want to leave." Neither did she. But she couldn't say that aloud. Because staying had become dangerous for her heart. And because every time she looked at Hae-jin, she felt guilty. Not because she loved him, but because she believed she had no right to. Meanwhile, Naren had become strangely distant. Hae-jin noticed immediately. She answered questions with one word. She stopped asking him to read bedtime stories. And one evening, she pushed away her dinner. "Naren, what's wrong?" "Nothing. Something is wrong." "No, it isn't." His voice softened. "Talk to me." Suddenly, tears spilled down her face. "You don't understand." Hae-jin stood immediately. "Naren, I already lost Mom." The words hit him like a physical blow. "And now I'm losing Auntie Zuri too." Silence. Hae-jin froze. "Losing Zuri?" Naren wiped her eyes angrily. "Because you care more about hotels than people." Then she ran upstairs. Hae-jin remained standing beside the dining table, unable to move. Because for the first time he realized his daughter had been carrying fears he never saw. Later that night, he walked toward the kitchen to get water. He stopped. Zuri stood alone near the counter. She thought nobody was watching. But he saw her. Saw the tears she quickly wiped away. Saw the resignation letter lying beside her handbag. His heart sank. After she left the room, he slowly picked it up. The letter was addressed to the Human Resources Department of SEO Hotels. His hands trembled. She was leaving. Not transferring. Not taking a vacation. Leaving. For the first time in years, Seo Hae-jin panicked. Not over stock prices. Not over investors. Not over business. Over one woman. The next morning, he drove to his mother's house. Madame Seo Mi-kyung listened quietly as her son finally admitted the truth. "I love her." The words came out broken. "And now I'm going to lose her." Madame Seo looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood and walked toward an old cabinet. When she returned, she held an envelope. Hae-jin's breathing stopped. He recognized the handwriting immediately. Han Yo-rim, his late wife. Madame Seo placed the envelope in his hands. "Your wife entrusted this to me." She said to give it to you only when you were finally ready to live again. With trembling fingers, Heijin opened the letter. And as he read Yorim's words, tears blurred his vision. Live. Laugh loudly. Love deeply. Please don't spend your life trapped in grief. And if happiness finds you again, don't run away from it. Heijin broke down, not because he missed his wife any less, but because he finally understood. Loving again wasn't betrayal, it was permission. And for the first time in 5 years, he knew exactly what he had to do. Unfortunately, Zuri and Tabena were scheduled to leave Seoul in 2 days. The CO penthouse felt unbearably quiet. For the first time since Operation Secret Parents had begun, neither Narin nor Tabena had the energy to joke. The two children sat together on the living room floor, surrounded by half-finished board games. Neither of them wanted to play. Maybe adults are hopeless, Tabena muttered. Narin hugged her knees. No. She shook her head stubbornly. My mom always said giving up is rude. Tabena blinked. Your mom said that? Yes. He thought about it carefully. She sounds scary. Despite everything, Narin laughed. Meanwhile, inside his study, Seo Hai-jin opened an old storage cabinet he had not touched in years. Dust covered several university textbooks, old notebooks, photographs. And buried beneath them all sat a worn blue folder. Slowly, he opened it. Inside were pages filled with handwritten economics notes. Zuri's handwriting. 20 years earlier, he had borrowed them before an examination. She had complained about it for months, and somehow, he had never returned them. Heijin smiled through tears. Even after all these years, she had remained part of his life in ways he had never fully understood. He carefully placed the notes inside a new envelope. Then he left. At Incheon Airport, Tabena sat beside his suitcase, trying very hard to look brave. His grandmother was reading quietly. Zuri stood near the window, staring at the airplanes. Narin sat beside Tabena in complete silence. Neither child wanted to say goodbye. Finally, Tabena forced a smile. When you become old and famous, don't forget me. Narin burst into tears. You're stupid. I know. He started crying too. Nearby, Zuri pretended not to notice, because if she looked at them, she might lose the courage to leave. Then boarding was announced. Her heart sank. This was really happening. She turned toward the children. Come on, Toby. But before anyone could move, Zuri. She froze. That voice. Slowly, she turned around. Seo Hai-jin was running through the terminal. Actually running. His tie was crooked. His hair was messy. And the chairman of Seo Hotels looked nothing like the composed billionaire the world knew. He stopped in front of her, breathing heavily. Neither spoke. Then Hai-jin held out an envelope. Confused, Zuri accepted it. Inside were old papers. Her eyes widened. My economics notes? Hai-jin laughed softly. I know. I'm about 20 years late. Tears immediately filled her eyes. He continued quietly. I think I've owed you far more than economics notes. She looked up. His voice trembled. I owed you gratitude. I owed you honesty. And I owed you the truth. The entire airport seemed to disappear. I love you, Zuri. I think I've loved you for a very long time. But I was too afraid to admit it. He swallowed. Not because I loved Yorim any less, but because I thought loving again meant losing her. He reached into his pocket and removed the silver sunburst necklace Madame Seo had entrusted to him. Yorim never wanted us to live in sorrow. She wanted us to live. Tears streamed down Zuri's face. For years, she had convinced herself she didn't belong beside him, that she could never fit into his world. But now she saw no guilt in his eyes. Only love. Only sincerity. Only home. I was afraid too, she whispered. I know. I thought people would say I replaced her. Heijin gently shook his head. No one could replace Han Yo-rim. Not even you. Because she isn't being replaced. She is being honored. And because of her, we found each other again. Zuri began crying openly. Before she could answer, two small figures suddenly pushed themselves between the adults, Narin and Tabena. Please say yes, Narin sobbed. My emotional health cannot survive another tragedy. Tabena nodded seriously. I agree. And I already told everyone at school that Chairman Seo might become my father. Zuri laughed through tears. Even Jin laughed. Then she looked at the two children, at Madame Seo, at her mother, and finally at the man standing in front of her. The man who had once borrowed her notes, the man who had broken her heart without realizing it, and the man she had never truly stopped loving. Slowly, she nodded. Okay, Narin screamed. Tabena nearly dropped his backpack. Madame Seo wiped away tears while Zuri's mother quietly thanked God under her breath. For the first time in many years, Seo Haijin felt completely at peace. 8 months later, Seoul International Elementary School hosted Family Heritage Day. The auditorium buzzed with excited parents and children. Narin stepped onto the stage wearing a beautiful Ankara dress that matched Zuri's. Beside her stood Tabena in a miniature suit identical to Haijin's. Looking out into the crowd, Narin spotted them immediately. Seo Haijin, Zuri Afolayan. Their hands intertwined, the silver sunburst necklace resting around Zuri's neck, and both of them smiling without guilt. Narin grinned. This is my dad, she announced proudly. Then she pointed toward Zuri. And this is my mom. The loudest applause came from Tabena, because technically he was cheering for both of them. Back home, the once silent penthouse had transformed into something entirely different. Korean dishes shared the table with Nigerian recipes. Children's laughter echoed through the halls, and no chair remained empty. Because the family grief had nearly destroyed had finally discovered how to heal, and somewhere beyond what human eyes could see, Hanyorim's love still remained. Not as a memory that trapped them, but as a blessing that set them free. Thank you so much for watching this story until the very end. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Afrock Dynasty Studios, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from our amazing family around the world. Would you have returned the economics notes after 20 years? Or do you think Chairman Seo took far too long? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for being part of the Afrock Dynasty Studios family, where African hearts and Korean souls come together through unforgettable stories. Until our next story, stay blessed, keep believing in love, and remember, sometimes the people meant for us find their way back, even after many years. Love has no borders, African hearts, ex-Korean soul stories that stay with you.